Thank you for all being here and for your patience in waiting for this information session. I've needed to wait for FIAP's PowerPoint presentation and the new application form. I was expecting those back in September and they only arrived a bit over a fortnight ago. So once I had those, this has enabled me to set up today's session and prepare for it. I particularly want to thank you all for heeding my request not to ask me lots of questions before today. I've needed to get clarity on a lot of things myself, as have a lot of people around the world. And the last thing I wanted is 40 odd emails asking the same questions, where today, what we're about today is to go through everything and to ask any questions that still remain if I haven't already addressed them in what I've had to say. Anything I can't answer, I will follow up for you later. I've endeavoured to clarify various aspects of the new distinctions regulations during the year and have passed this on to you when I've had some clarity myself. Those of you who read the e-news bulletins, and you should all be doing that, over the last year and have read the new regulations and indeed the August edition of FIAP News magazine, where I pushed a lot of buttons on the directors to get some content in there about the issues that a lot of people had in terms of questions on certain matters. We covered a lot was covered in that particular edition of FIAP News. So if you haven't already read that, you should read the director's notices section in the August edition. If you've done all those things, you'll be off to a great start in terms of understanding the new requirements. So this session is still very important as there's some very significant changes to the distinctions, and these commence as of our upcoming round that opens on the 1st of January. So the rules come into force as of the 1st of January, and that happens to coincide with our application period, which opens on the 1st of January as well. As you know, the session's been recorded, and we'll make this available via the APS website, which it'll actually be housed in the YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find it there as well, but we'll link it into the APS website in the FIAP area. I know some of you are likely to be planning to make some notes during this session, but I'd actually suggest to you that you just concentrate on listening, because when you try to make notes, I do find it's hard to do that and hear whatever's next said. So it is being recorded. You will be able to go back through it again if you find there's things you've missed or didn't quite get, or just want to re-listen to that. The recording will be held online for possibly years, because I actually see the potential for it being a refresher, a source of being able to refresh yourselves each year, because it's a big time gap, particularly for our verifying officers, to handle the distinctions in January and February and then not handle them for a whole year until January or February again. It is essential that the verifying officers either attend this session or watch it via the recording at least once before they undertake their first FIAP distinctions verification in 2026, because we are changing the procedures. Or I'm changing the procedures, I should say.
I'm still having trouble hearing you, Bronwyn.
Okay, I'm closer again. It's essential that all APS members for applying for FIAP distinctions either attend this session or watch the recording at least once before they apply for their distinction in 2026 or beyond. As I say, this recording, unless it's superseded for some reason, will be available long-term in the tutorials page of the FIAP distinctions area of the APS website as an ongoing resource. And it's expected that the applicants and verification officers refresh themselves with this each year. I am actually expecting a fairly large number of applicants this year. We've already got 30 registered, and I'm not looking at any of the portfolio ones yet, and I think there'll be quite a few people interested in that as well. There'll be actually minimal involvement from me when it comes to those. They go direct to FIAP. I'll be running through 2 slideshows today. One is the one that was produced by FIAP to help orientate FIAP liaison officers to the new distinctions. And I will answer questions along the lines of what's covered in that. And I will probably pause at particular intervals to enable you to ask questions rather than have it interrupted throughout, particularly as once I'm on screen share, it doesn't enable me to see things like the chat. Just a quick question, because I'm seeing people who are saying they can hear quite well. Just make sure your volume's up, please. Hit your volume buttons and make sure you're on max. So the second slideshow will cover our new procedures, which I'm redesigning a little bit to reduce the errors and to dramatically reduce what would otherwise be a massive increased load on our verifying officers and myself, because now that we are accumulating everything from AFIAP onwards, right up to diamond level, there's a lot more results that appear on an application. I've got a way around that, so we'll get to that in a few minutes. So please have your questions jotted down, and at the intervals and at the end, we will double back on anything that is not clear for you. I'd love you to be asking the questions here. Please don't be shy or feel that your question is silly in any way. I fully expect there to be people who will need something explained again, and I want to make sure that you all understand it, because it is much easier to explain it here and now to all of you together than it is to answer multiple emails afterwards. But hopefully, as I say, most of you will get what you need from the session itself. Let's see. So before we kick off, I'm actually just going to quickly duck into the APS website, because I just want to make quite sure that you're familiar with where to find a few things. And so just bear with me a second. I'm just going to reduce this and just share my screen very briefly, just specifically for this. We're going to this one. Okay, you should all be looking at the Australian Photographic Society website, correct? Can you all see that on screen? Someone give me a thumbs up, thank you. So there's two ways into the FIAP area. One is to go via the menu, which the menu bar is over there, FIAP information, and click FIAP information. The other way to get there is to scroll down the home page until you get to this little row of scrolling boxes and click the green box. So I particularly want you to be aware of this page here, the FIAP Distinctions Updates page. We've got material that we don't have yet. Like, we don't have yet from FIAP the procedures of how to lodge a portfolio distinction. I'm expecting those any day, because it's got to come soon. The first of those application rounds closes in the middle of January. So it's got to come soon, and I know that they're still finalising the platform for it. So as I receive updates, I'm going to be putting them here. So keep an eye on this page. If there's a really big, massive load of an update, I will get to that in the form of an e-news bulletin, or possibly even put it in the FIAP Liaison Officers Bulletins page. Now, the FIAP Liaison Officers Bulletins page encompasses the bulletins that I put in e-news, and every so often, like the bulletin that came out very recently that included the information about this session that we're doing here today, there'll be a special bulletin which isn't in e-news. All of them I put here, which means that if you're trying to look back for something that was in a past bulletin, look here. And I've indexed it all as well, which means you can think, oh, Bronwyn talked about something. It was in one of those past editions. You can come to this page. You can find it very quickly. The other spot that I want you to know about is the other docs and forms page. I regularly have it in my e-news bulletins. And on this page in particular, you'll find things like the new regulations, and you'll also find the most recent edition of FIAP News. So FIAP News comes out quarterly. As most of you probably know, I'm actually the director for FIAP News, so I'm frantically working on the November edition right now. But the newest edition I will always place here. It's also, the last 3 editions are available on the front page of the FIAP website, which is fiap.net. And indeed, if you go to the FIAP News page, you can find every past edition. So they're the main pages that I want you to be aware of, plus obviously the registration page. So if you're planning to apply for FIAP distinctions in 2026, whether it's a portfolio distinction or the ones that we're applying for now, I want you to register, please, because I need to know who you are. It keeps me in touch with all of you. It means if there's a concern that I need to reach all of you really quickly without having to rely on you reading these updates pages and things, I can email you all. And if indeed once, you only need to register once per application year. So this will, if you register now, it'll apply to our 2026 applications. And once you've registered once for that year, I don't need you to register again. You can jump straight past this registration page and go directly to the documents downloads page. So as I've been saying in my news bulletins, the documents downloads page is only as up to date as it can be. So it does already have, and did have as soon as I received them, the new FIAP Distinctions regulations, which is this first one here. The AV distinctions are still the same. There's no change to that. And we now have the new Excel spreadsheet, which is the new application form. And applications next year must use this new form. So the big one that I need to update is this FEA1, which is what I call the Bible. It's the one that provides all the nitty-gritties of what's needed and the procedures to lodge your application through the APS. Now, a lot of that will stay the same, and I will be talking about the differences when we go through the rest of the material today, but it is going to take me time to do this because I haven't had the application form and I haven't had the PowerPoint, and I still don't have the application procedure for the portfolio distinctions. So there's only so much I can do with this. My gut feel is I'm hoping to be finishing that in the middle of December. So you'll just have to watch for that. And indeed, when it's there, I'll be alerting you again via the distinctions updates page. On that distinctions updates page, I've also put those same two documents, the new FIAP distinctions regulations and the Excel dossier, which is the new application form. And this link here is quite important to you. This link here is a tutorial of how to fill in the new application dossier. And you'll find that link is on the dossier itself. So on this document itself, when you open up this Excel spreadsheet, you will actually find this link is there, but it is also here for you. And it'll be in FEA1 as well when I put the FEA1 guidelines document out. But you've got all sorts of bits and pieces. As I say, I keep adding to this when I know things. It started right back from some of these key features of the new regulations, and it's, I've got the calendars there now. And eventually I kind of hope this page will become redundant, but I started this page a year ago knowing what the year ahead was looking like in terms of what we had to become familiar with. So the only other spot that you're going to need to know about with any sort of real sense of urgency is the FIAP photographer's card and profile page. Now, the information is in FEA1 as well, but I've put it here on the website because I feel that it's just a little bit helpful to have it here rather than having to wade through a document. So if you don't already have a FIAP profile account, this is your registration link to do it, and the instructions for how to get in. There's actually an instructional tutorial on that. When you go in, you can watch that before proceeding. It'll give you a little tutorial and show you how to set up your MyFIAP profile account. Whenever you're asked for your FP number, that's F for FIAP and P for profile, it is the number that is issued as your member number when you come in to set up a MyFIAP account. Those of you who have already done a FIAP distinction application will know that there's a spot on your application form for your FP number and also a spot for your FIAP card. If you're planning to apply, as before, you need a FIAP card. But going forward, and this is hot news off the press, I'm going to be advising everyone who enters salons from 2026 onwards to set up a MyFIAP profile. You don't need to purchase a card until you're actually applying for a distinction, but FIAP have finally, and I've been screaming for this for about 8 years, they're finally going down the path of having a unique identifying number, which is your FP number. And I've been saying, why not use the FP number? It's there. And there's going to be a field. All the salons are going to be required to have a field on their application form, which is an optional field, but I recommend that you use it, to place your FP number. That FP number will then also be recorded on the FIAP database with your result. So what's that do for you? Heaps. It means that you've got a unique identifying number associated with your result. If your name is misspelt, you change addresses, you move countries, you get married, you get divorced, you use variations of your name, or the salon drops the hyphen or apostrophe out of your name, which is a regular occurrence, it's not going to matter as much because they're going to be able to find your results by your FP number. So I would like everyone entering salons to have an FP number. It costs you nothing except for a few minutes of your time to set up an a FIAP photographer's profile and to make sure you've got that profile. That profile stays with you for life. So don't set up one every year or anything like that. Once you've got an FP number, that is your number ongoing. Don't lose your password, is all I can say. You know, if you've got a passwords document or whatever you do to retain your passwords, make sure this is amongst them. So anyhow, that's just jumping in on that. Now, let me just get rid of my email because it's going to ping throughout otherwise. Okay. So I'm just going to stop share on that. With me. Okay, you're all good so far? Nothing you want to ask me about so far? Thumbs up? Thumbs up. Excellent. Rightio. So now we're going to go into the PowerPoint presentation that FIAP put together. So to some extent, I'm going to be reading off it, but I'm also going to try and explain some of it because some of it's not as clear as it could be, much as with each liaison officer session, and they did multiple sessions for liaison officers in different time zones. They tweaked it a little bit each time. So much as I could point you in the direction of the videos on the FIAP YouTube channel, where they did those sessions and indeed put them online, I'd advise you not to watch those because there actually were some errors in there which when they were picked up on the errors, they fixed it in the later sessions. So some of those contain some misinformation. So it's this one I want you to listen to. So bear with me. We're going to go into screen share again. Okay, so you should now be looking at a full screen view of the FIAP Distinctions, the Recognition and Photographic Achievements PowerPoint that FIAP have put together. So let's work our way through this. Jeff Lemons is the new director. He was actually Freddie's assistant for many years, so he's not coming in as a raw recruit at all. So the FIAP Distinctions Regulations for 2026 are document 047/2025. And there's also a cheat sheet for photographers, which is actually at the end of this PowerPoint, which effectively you'll be able to always access via this. So they've broken up the distinctions into different groups. And your traditional ones that we've always talked about and done have, of course, been the ones which are based on your salon acceptances. The administrative ones are your service honours. They've actually got some new ones. And there's also, then we've got the new stuff, which is the new levels of distinctions, the novice level, and indeed the portfolio and the grandmaster. So the traditional, the rationale for updating the regulations, so the current regulations for photographic distinctions were last revised in 2016. As you know, they actually endeavoured to update them earlier than this, and it was not good timing with COVID, and indeed there was a bit of an uproar over what they were initially proposing there, and it went back to the drawing board. So they are now overdue for an update to better reflect the contemporary landscape of international photography. Over the past decade, several notable developments have taken place. The number of salons organised worldwide has increased from 500 to 700. That's approximate numbers, which has led to a corresponding rise in the number of awards distributed, affecting the perceived exclusivity of certain distinctions. So there's also, for those of you who've entered for as many years as I have, when I started entering back in the year 2000, there was only about 140 salons worldwide, and they were hard to get into. There was no 30% acceptance rate. You were looking usually between 1 in 5 to 1 in 12 on your acceptance rates. So it's quite a different landscape, and that's progressively changed. The global impact of COVID-19 pandemic prompted FIAP to permit online judging as a standard practice. That's a shift that has since become widespread and integral to the evaluation process. Prior to COVID, it was something that FIAP did not allow. They wanted all their judges in one room judging together in the same judging, under the same judging conditions. They've had, as I said, as the distinctions directors, not the distinctions, the patronage director said to me after COVID, he said that horse is bolted now. We need to look at how we address this. And one of the things that they did was to say, look, now that we're not constrained by cost of moving judges physically between locations, we want the judging to involve judges from multiple locations. So a lot of you who enter salons will now notice, even in our Australian salons, that every judge on the judging team will come from a different country. And that's part of the requirements in the FIAP patronage rules, that they can only have one person per country. So as that being judges. The acceptance rates for distinctions has increased from 25 to 30%. For FIAP, it used to be 20%. For PSA, it used to be 35%. They met in the middle, it's now 30%. So, but it does indicate, it does mean we've got broader acceptance, but also it raises questions about maintaining the value and prestige of these regulations. And that's part, so this is all contributing to why they've made some changes. So these factors highlight the necessity for a comprehensive review and a revision of the distinctions rules in 2026. Updating the regulations will help ensure that they remain relevant, uphold high standards, and continue to promote excellence in photography amidst evolving global practices and opportunities. So this is what our new distinctions look like. So a lot of people look at numbers like this and I think 1,200, it used to be 700. Yes, there is an increase on that one. But what you need to bear in mind is that now we are not just cumulative from bronze to platinum. The accumulation starts from scratch. So it starts right from the start. So all the results that you counted in your AFIAP, EFIAP, or indeed, when people start having their NFIAP, all of them accumulate. So you're just adding at each level. So at this level, going from NFIAP to AFIAP, you're adding another 50 results. You're adding another 10 countries. You're adding another 10 works. As in, when we talk about works, we're talking about photographs, titles of your photographs. EFIAP, it requires 200 acceptances, which includes what's here. So it's a further over what you had on your AFIAP. You need another 120 results. You need another 5 countries, and you need another 20 works. And this is how it goes on. So when you're looking at this, and this is a little bit key to some of the procedure changes I'm going to talk about later on, because it's relevant, because these numbers like this, to verify 1,200 results on an application, and indeed on the previous one to do 900, I can't tell you how many hours it takes to verify, because it's a lot, particularly when you're looking for those tiny little mistakes that might be there, because these forms, they go through a computer system, and the computer systems can be really unforgiving when it comes to typos or leading spaces, etc. So very important. Going into the diamond one, this is where you start again. So before on our distinctions up till this year, we used to effectively start again as of your EFIAP. You started afresh, you could still use the same titles, but you started afresh with new results and you couldn't count them before your certificate date. That has gone. That is not there. It is just one continuous flow from NFIAP or AFIAP, and you can start from either. But only they're the only two optional start points. You can't jump in at any of these levels. You've got to start here and work your way up without jumping levels. But it is a continuous, cumulative set of distinctions. Where you do start again is when we go to the diamond levels. And as you will have seen, we've added there's some new diamond levels available. And it is very obvious, for those of you who've been entering salons, it's quite obvious that our diamond people are back in the melt in the competitions. It's suddenly got a little bit tougher to get those acceptances because there's some really high-flying individuals back in entering. So again, you start again here, and you must start with new photos. And that is really important for you to understand. This, as of Diamond 1, you can't use titles that have appeared on these applications. And hopefully you've heeded me over the last year, because FIAP have been leaning this way for quite some time, ever since they first announced their first proposed distinctions, that they were going to be honing in on the number of times you use a title, and indeed whether you have to retire titles. So you can enter a photo however often you like. It doesn't matter. You can, provided they haven't been in that same salon before, you can continue to enter. This is about what you can count on your distinctions, which is different. So as of Diamond 1, you need to be using titles that have not been on any of these applications. What they are doing, and this is where, if you remember, there was always this gap, and the gap was here, and it was also between EFIAP and bronze. There was a gap where you couldn't use anything that was prior to a certain certificate date, which meant that you could have achieved what you had for EFIAP, for instance, early in the, back, 6 months before you could apply for EFIAP. And then you're in a stalemate position because you say, well, if I keep entering, I can't actually use them for bronze, because you couldn't use anything prior to your certificate date. That has gone for here, but we still have a jump here. And what they've done, and that's what this clause here means, it says, at this stage, after EFIAP, all previously received awards will be reset, except for those awards obtained 1 year prior to having received the EFIAP. That being, and the date you're deemed to have your EFIAP is the date on your certificate. Whenever we talk about the date you're deemed to have a particular distinction, it is your certificate date. So what this is doing is this is enabling you to bridge this gap. And it means that you can use your awards from up to a year prior to your EFIAP certificate date, providing that that title has not appeared on these applications. If it's been on these applications, you're done. So don't put titles on your applications until you have to. If you keep your titles at a minimum, save your awarded titles until you need to use them, because it means that you can A, continue to enter them and use awards for them when you do your diamond levels, and B, anything you've got up to a year prior to your EFIAP certificate date, you can actually use on your diamond levels. So when we talk starting from with new photographs, the definition of new photographs is a photo that you have not listed on these. There's no date associated with the photograph. The key information, a new photo is defined as being a photo that has not been shown on one of these applications. You might have entered it, but once you've shown it on an application, it's no longer deemed new. Okay. Is everyone relatively clear on this? Because there's a couple of big concepts in there.
Yeah, Bronwyn,
I've already spoken to you about this before, but it's about grandfathering Diamond 1 and Diamond 2 awards that
Yes,
have contained
yes.
the
Thanks, Liz.
yeah.
Liz was chatting to me in China, and indeed, I pinned down Jeff in the bus and made sure I got clarity on that, and I rechecked it before this meeting. I've actually got it covered later on in this meeting, but I will bring it back. I will just mention it now. So, and this is important for you, Kerry Boytel, as well, because it's a piece of information that I actually gave you that is not quite correct. So, people who have already got diamond levels are going to potentially have photos on their previous applications for Diamond 1, Diamond 2, or even Diamond 3 that were titles that they had used back on this. So under the new rules, you've got to use new photos. However, there is one exception. If you have already had some results for an old photograph that was listed here, if you've already got some results for such photos already on one of these applications that has already been an approved application, so you already hold that level, and there's a set of results on that for a photo that was not a new photo out following your FIAP, you can continue to keep it there. You don't have to remove it. It's a done deal. What you can't do is you can't add more results to that photo. So it's only what was on that past application, already past approved. You can leave it there. You can leave it on your application.
But I just ask, Bronwyn, when you fill the application for that, do you have to flag those images? Because it must be confusing to the person checking whether those images were part of a Diamond 1 or Diamond 2.
They haven't asked for that. I don't know what features they're building into their program. They've been using software for quite some time to check applications. And I know that Jeff has a new assistant who is an IT specialist. So he is in fact responsible for building the new application form, which when you take a good look at it, has got some very nice bells and whistles on it. And he will no doubt be probably involved in this as well, but I don't actually know. So I don't know exactly what their software does. I don't know exactly what their software will do, assuming there'll be some changes. What I will say to you is make sure you get it right, because I can't check it. Okay, it's just something that's going to be very difficult for me to check, although the new procedures that I'm planning to put into place will help, and we'll get to that.
Bronwyn, could I just ask a clarifying question there?
Go for it.
I'll use myself as an example. I'm a current Diamond 1,
Yep.
and if I look at my Diamond 1 application, there is some titles there that were awarded that would be previously appearing in through that EFIAP section.
Yep.
So I can, as long as they're there, now if I'm going for Diamond 2 or then Diamond 3 into the future, I can leave them on the next application.
Absolutely.
And they would then count as, say, one of the 100 awards, one of the 15 countries, and one of the 30 different title works.
Yes. Yes, they stay put. It's a done deal. And these levels are all cumulative. Similar to these being cumulative within themselves, these ones are all cumulative. So you start with 50 at D1, you add another 50 to have a total of 100. For D2, you add another 100 to have a total of 200 for D3. And if you've got titles in any one of those that were already a done deal, that's done. You can continue with it.
That's good news.
It is, isn't it?
Ron, can I just ask you that? So, but you can't add more acceptance, so you can't add more awards for those titles for the next diamond level.
That's correct. So it's only what has been previously approved. So it's an application that you've put through that has been previously approved with those results on it, but you can't then go and add more results for those same titles.
Bronwyn, if you have not used it prior to Diamond 1, can you use those images that have got awards in future, or do they have to be new images?
Not quite sure I understand you there, Kerry.
All right, you've got an award for an image in Diamond 1, Diamond 2, or Diamond 3, and you're going for Diamond 4.
Yep.
But it wasn't used previous to Diamond 1. You can't, can you use that, can you enter that image and get an award for it or not?
You can, these are all cumulative, Kerry. So you might have an award on your Diamond 1 application, and provided it's not one of these ones that we've just talked about where...
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You can continue entering it and continue getting more awards for it and continue adding to your total of awards.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So long as it hasn't been used before Diamond 1, you can keep... right. Thank you. Thank you.
It's all just cumulative. You just keep adding to each level. Okay, we all good with this so far?
No.
Okay.
Hi, Bronwyn, Beck Polonsky. So did you say if we get an award, I haven't got anything yet in FIAP, but if I've got acceptances and I've got awards, I keep the titles with the awards and save them for like 10 years before I go for the diamond? Or
yes and no. You're actually going to need awarded images at each of these levels anyhow.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep.
But if you're a prolific award winner, I would suggest to you to retain what you don't need going forward. Yes, if you've got some great shots, save them. You know,
but you save them and enter them later. You don't enter them here, get awards, and then use them later.
Well, you can put on your you can put a result on your application at any point in time. So you might have an award that you gained whilst you were working on your FIAP that you didn't put on any of these applications until you did your gold, and you said, oh, I still need another awarded image, and you put it on your gold application. That's fine. Also, if you haven't put it on any of these applications, you can then get some more awards for it to use for your Diamond 1, because remember, you can only use the result if it is up to a year, gained up to a year prior to your certificate date.
Okay, thank you.
Platinum certificate. So if you've got that awarded image award right back here, you can't use that actual award all the way down here, but because it will be more than a year prior to your FIAP certificate date. But you can enter it, and it doesn't appear on here, which means you can use that title with its new results here.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the other point of clarity. So you may recall that when we say, well, what is the salon date? If we talk about a year prior to your platinum certificate, and you say, okay, so I count back 12 months from my platinum certificate, any award I've got in that year, in that 12 months, I can include it on my D1 as long as that title doesn't appear on my previous distinctions. And you're going to say to me, okay, so the salon is close to 1 year ago. What is the salon date? Now, previously, we've always talked about the salon date being the closing date. It's not now. It's the judging date. So when you count that year, you count you can count anything from up to a year prior to your platinum certificate, where you go back as far as any salon that hasn't got a judging date more than a year before that certificate date. Does that make sense, everybody?
Bronwyn, could I just clarify that? Do you mean the start of the judging or the end of the judging date?
Yes, a good question. I would always take the end date.
Thank you.
Bronwyn, can I, with questions at the moment, following on from Rebecca, I'm looking to, again, progress to FIAP next year, so I haven't done anything at this stage and taking this in like a sponge. So for NFIAP, we're only talking about acceptances, we're not talking about awards.
Correct.
So that's just saying about the awards. So if I had a work, an image that received multiple acceptances but had an award, would I hold that back from its acceptances as well to keep it in the bank for progressing, or that journey through is too far down the track, so you might as well use it now if you're starting out and burn your awards up and get new ones as you go through?
So it's cumulative. So there's two factors involved here. So it doesn't matter if it appears on your application unless you're trying to save it for Diamond. And to be perfectly frank, I wouldn't be trying to save something way back at NFIAP. each of these levels represents a year, and I would
Yeah.
like to think you'll get many more awards in these years.
Yep.
And indeed, you will need awards. When you put in an application, those of you who've done applications before will know that you've got to submit to FIAP a number of photographs, and these photographs have got to meet certain criteria. So in the case of the NFIAP, none of those criteria include an award, but for some of the higher levels, they do. So from EFIAP onwards, I think it is, and I haven't got the distinctions in front of me. I should have printed them off. They're actually on a different screen, which I can't see because I'm in screen share. You've got to have awards going up through from at least EFIAP for the photos that you submit to FIAP, and it's 5 photos that you have to give to them. Once you have given them those 5 photos, whilst the results can continue to show on your applications going forward, you can't submit those same photos on a subsequent occasion. So if you have an award in NFIAP, I would be encouraging you not to submit that photo with your NFIAP application. So I'm not talking about it being listed on your results. I'm talking about when you choose your 5 photos that have got to meet the criteria, and you will have to make sure that you've still got 5 photos that meet the criteria, that you don't use that photo then, because down here you're going to need awarded photos, and use it then. Use it as one of your submitted 5 photos then.
Yeah, I can see the need for this information session.
Sorry?
I see the need for this information session to walk through the minefield.
Yeah, look, once you get your head around it, it's not so bad. And in fact, there's a lot of features about these new distinctions that I actually really like. And I can see some added simplicity to them, particularly as we get past these early stages where we're transitioning. The transitions are always going to be a little bit rough, and particularly as people need to get used to what's involved. Anyhow.
Yeah, Bronwyn, just general advice, having gone through all the levels for right, my comment is until you get to about EFIAP Gold, I wouldn't worry about trying to hold back awards and that for diamond levels. As Bronwyn says, it's several years before you get to that level anyway. So until you get to gold, there's no point worrying about it. Just put them in and get your awards. And you'll have plenty later anyway if you continue exhibiting.
But do hold off using them for your NFIAP. Because you don't have to have an awarded photo for that. It just saves it for you next time.
Question, Bronwyn, if you're considering your MFIAP, and you've got a series of images, and they have to be a cohesive series that you've recently taken and you think are good, but they've never been entered into any salons, can you use them, or do they have to have been entered and have to have won awards?
2 totally separate things. They do not, what you are required to have for MFIAP and what you're required to have for these category A distinctions are completely separate. If you can choose to enter those photos if you wish, you do not have to. So you could be working on gaining further diamond levels with those photographs if you wanted to, entering them, gaining results for them, using them for your applications for category A, and that's what we're talking about, the salon-based distinctions as the category A distinctions. And you could then put your set together, including those photos, and submit them for an MFIAP application.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, if I haven't entered them into any salons, could I put them together as a group and enter them for an MFIAP?
Yes, that's what I just said.
Right, okay, so they don't have to have been entered or get any awards.
No, but they can have if you want to.
Oh, yeah, but if I haven't got time to do it, they've just been taken recently.
Yeah, there's absolutely no prerequisite on it associated with the photos going into your MFIAP.
And the other thing was, I was looking at some of the previous MFIAP images, and they all seem to be cropped square. Is that a requirement, or is that because of the way it was put on the website?
If you click on one of those boxes, you'll find that it opens up to a different shape.
Oh, right. Okay. So they should all be the same size, basically, but they don't need to be square.
No.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Have I exhausted all the questions there? Is everyone?
No, I've got another question, Rebecca, here again.
Okay, Rebecca.
So somewhere it says for AFIAP and EFIAP, you need to submit 5 different works with at least 3 acceptances in 5 different countries. To me, that adds up to 15, but you can't have more than 10 acceptances per country.
I'm going to tell you to pause there because we're
Okay.
getting to a slide that goes through that.
Excellent. Thank you.
And it's easier to explain with the slide. So if we're all good with what's on this page, I'll move on. We all silent? Excellent. Let's go. Okay, so this is just a hint that they've shoved on it, which we've already been talking about almost ad nauseum, which is a hint that says if you're collecting acceptances and awards for your EFIAP distinction, you should keep the relevant awards for your EFIAP distinction. Any awards obtaining at least 1 year prior to your platinum should be preserved for your diamond levels if you can. If you don't need it, save it. But we've talked all about that, so I really don't need to go through the slide again. Okay, so this is another one that is poorly understood, and it is in fact easy to explain. And in fact, when we did FIAP News, I took over the wording of it and fixed it, fixed it in FIAP News so that people understood it better. So what it says is that starting from 2026, a photo cannot have more than 10 acceptances or awards, whether you're talking about diamond or the lower levels, listed on the application. You can have as many as you like from results from salons. Doesn't matter what you've got from salons. It's what you list on your application. You can only list 10 as of 2026. The acceptances awards for salons with patronage numbers earlier than 2026 can have more than 10 acceptances. Now, people get very confused about this. So let's revisit this. So what it means is up until 2026, you can have as many results as you like for a photo. And indeed, again, like all our diamond people coming back into the melt in the salons, a whole lot of people are campaigning their big winning images because they know that any results they get from a salon that still has a 2025 FIAP patronage number, that being a 2025 salon, right up to the end of this, 2025, they can count all those results on their application. There is no limit of 10. They can use them all. You can list them all, you can use them all. Once you hit 2026, if you've already got 10 for a photo or more, you can't add more. You can still enter it. You just can't add more to your application. You can only enter, you can have as many from 2026, prior to 2026 as you like, but you can't add more beyond that if you've already hit your limit of 10. If you have less than 10, you might have, say, 8, already in hand, and you can then continue to add more to reach the limit of 10 from 2026 onwards. Do you all understand me when I've explained that? Anyone feel a little bit uncertain, want me to repeat through that again? Everyone's silent? That's great news, because this has been the question that every one of those liaison officer meetings asked, and in fact, I think after the first one, they built in the next slide about it just for that very reason. So this is where it says, because this text is it comes directly from the distinctions, and it's not as clear as it could be. At this stage, after EFIAP, all previously received awards will be reset. Oh no, that's right. That's not relevant to this. Sorry. Okay. Next slide. Yep.
Could I just ask something, please, Chris here? What is the advantage of listing up to 10? I mean, do you have to list up to 10
awards? Of course you don't. No, of course you don't.
Isn't one enough?
Of course it is. You will have, if it's a photo that you want to submit, it will have to have certain criteria in terms of the results it's achieved, which varies depending on what level you're going for. But what was happening is people would get that one fabulous photo, you know, that absolute golden photo in their kit that they entered to death, you know, 50 odd awards, you know, 50 odd, and you'd see applications where a quarter of the application, the results came from that one photo. That's what they're trying to stop.
So Bronwyn, just that explains that 25 for FIAP, 25 acceptances prior to this year, you could have one image shown across 5 countries, get acceptances to boot to 25, and just have one image that virtually gives you your admission.
This is the concerns that people can apply for levels. In the past, people were applying for levels with a lot of results from 1 or 2 photos, and
wow.
they were getting their results. I mean, there's a whole lot of criteria that's got to be met, Chris. It's not just acceptances. There's, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah. I mean, I'll get into that too, but that was just an amazing thing. So, but as from next year, it's 10, maximum of 10 per image, 10 per photo. Yeah.
But you can. But the grandfather clause of that is that up to the end of this year, if you've got results in salons up to the end of this year, you can use all of them. So there will still be applications with 50 odd results from one particular photo. And again, that's why any of you who have been entering over these last few months, I've certainly noticed it. There are a lot of what I call golden oldies in the melt, you know, campaigning those photos to get as many results for them as they possibly can, because they're chasing the new diamond level or whatever, and they've got a big award winner, and they're campaigning that photo because they know once they might have 20 odd awards for it, and they know they can continue to add to those until it hits the end of this year, and then the door slams shut. You know, once they've got at least 10 or more as of the end of this year, that's it for that photo.
Hi, Bronwyn. Karen here.
Hi, Karen.
So I understand all of that completely. So I guess next year, if you've got your 10, but you haven't got that award, and you know it's a really good one and you could get an award, you'd keep entering that and just use 10 and not use, say, 3 of them where you didn't get an award. Does it, like, you might keep entering it more than 10 because you think it's a good image and you might get an award in one of the next competitions. Because sometimes those, they're not those, what are they called? When you've got multiple in a circuit, you've got multiple salons, and you've already got your 10 after 2 competitions type of thing. You might enter another one to try and get a higher award or a higher score.
It's not about what you enter, or how often you enter it, or how many results you gain. It's about what you claim on your distinctions.
Yes. Okay. So you might enter a few more.
Of course.
Yeah.
You've got a great shot
to get a better award, to get a better score. Yep.
Yeah. And then you choose, and then when you do your application, you choose what you put on it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I've just got a question here, Bronwyn, which just came to mind about when you're entering images in salons, how similar, like say you had a stellar image and you had a similar image that was very similar but not the same image. Now, you can't have that as one of your submitted images, but is it permissible to actually enter those in salons? So you had, say, a grasshopper, and then you had grasshopper 2 and grasshopper 3.
Yeah, when I like those photos. And that's look, you want to really be trying to enter photos that are distinctly different.
Oh yeah, no, I've never done this myself. It was just a thought, like the legality of it. I'm not saying that it's anything I do or particularly want.
Incredibly hard to police. Particularly, it gets picked up if you enter both those photos in the same salon.
Oh yes,
they will probably get pinged at the judging level because you can't.
They would, but if they were in different salons, would you be sort of picked up? Probably not
really, but it seems so similar to be almost the same. You could actually, you could actually be questioned on it, I guess, because they might say, "Is this the same photo?"
Yeah,
I've actually been for quite some time trying to ask FIAP for some sort of clarity on the word similarity or similar, because similar comes up not only in our requirement for photos that are different when we submit those 5 photos to FIAP, but it comes up in the judging of salons as well. And indeed, it's also a word that is used in portfolios, 2 similar portfolios. And I've been, I get answers like, oh, everyone knows what similar means. And I'm saying, well, no, they don't, because everyone's definition of similar is different. It's a judgment call on what is similar and what is not. I know that FIAP have now formed a text in relation to the word similar, but I haven't got it yet. But it has happened, and it's happened because when this, I've been talking about it for ages, but I put them on the spot when this session was held for the FIAP liaison officers back earlier this year, and the screen came across where it had that word similar. I beat down the ears of everyone in that room about this word, and to the point where they agreed in front of everybody that they'd have to do something, that they'd have to come out. It was clear that they would have to put some sort of text about it, but I haven't, and I know they've done that, and it just hasn't come out yet. I was hoping to have it in FIAP News, and at the moment they're all flat out trying to develop the platform for the portfolios and get set up for the new distinctions and all of that sort of thing. So a lot of that's just not, there's a bit of a prioritizing of their time right now. So I haven't got that yet, but I know they've done it. And when it becomes available, you'll all know about it. Okay, so this text just again goes through what I've just explained, and this was actually a slide they added after, this question kept getting asked. If a photo A already had 9 acceptances before 2026, does it mean it can still receive an additional 10 acceptances from 2026? The answer is no, for a total of 19. Or if the photo has already reached, for example, 15 acceptances before 2026, can it continue to add a further 10? Again, no. So as of 2026, once a photo has reached its limit of 10, no further acceptances or awards for that image can be counted, regardless of how many it had before that date. So if a photo had 9 before 2026, it can still have 1 more to go up to the 10. If a photo had 15, you can count the 15, but you can't add any more. Okay, so that's just repeating what we've gone through. We all good? That's great, because we've covered what I consider to be the 2 hairiest spots on the application process. So MFIAP, the only change with MFIAP is the prerequisite, and that is that you must hold, as of 2026, you must hold EFIAP Platinum to be able to apply for Master Photographer of FIAP. Master Photographer of FIAP, for anyone who doesn't know, is a very different baby. It's a requirement to put together a cohesive set of 20 works, and I would describe it as a specialisation. You've got to be exceptional in what you put together. Exceptional, I would also argue, for uniqueness. You've got to stand out in the crowd, basically, because very few of those applications are successful. The other thing that they've changed is that there will no longer be a restriction on the number of times people can apply for MFIAP. So it used to be that if you had 3 attempts, you couldn't have any more attempts. That's no longer the case. You can continue to try again and again as often as you like. It's obviously 1 per year. There's also no waiting time between your attempts. So that used to be that you couldn't apply till you'd held your EFIAP, not the Platinum, the EFIAP, for 3 years, and then you had to have 3 years between each attempt. Those criteria are all gone. As soon as you hold your Platinum, you can apply for MFIAP. Now, MFIAP is only done once a year. I mean, all our applications are only done once a year. In terms of the salon ones, the ones for, which is the category A, and you're going to hear me use the categories a lot because they've categorised each of them. The category A distinctions are the ones associated with salon results. Those, the country themselves chooses the timing on, and typically a country will keep the timing very consistent, In fact, we do. We are consistently January, February, with a closing date of the 28th of February, and I lodge them in the first week of March, and they give us the same certificate date. And that's the important thing, because you have to have a full year between your applications, and that year is counted from certificate date to certificate date. So you need to have a full year, you need to know what your certificate date is, and as I say, you've got that full year requirement there. But there is no requirement in relation to MFIAP. If you've got your platinum, you can apply. The MFIAP has a very set date. So it is not the same. It happens to coincide with our Category A distinctions, but the closing date for FIAP to receive all MFIAP applications worldwide is the 1st of February. Now, I call for them by the 15th of December, and I do that for a very good reason. Usually I find that there's things that need to be polished or fixed on the applications. Often I see things that I know will prevent that person from being successful, and we've got Christmas in the melt. So I like to have time with that person to go through a lot of people will be talking to me from a lot earlier than that, but I like to make sure that there is plenty of time after they lodge that to say, hey, do you realise that you've got this? Let's polish up that CV. We need it looking more professional than that. That text that you've written as your artist statement, I think you should make these changes to it, because otherwise it's just not going to gel with the set that you've put forward. All these sorts of things. I can only do that if I've got you in my hands before that 1st of February submission date. And obviously I don't want to submit right on the deadline either. Okay, are we all good with this? Yep. Okay. So this one is a bit of a done deal already. The MFIAP, because it was raised in the liaison officers meetings that there were people out there who had been preparing their applications, and these applications often take a couple of years to do. You know, it's a lot of work putting together a cohesive set of 20 photos of this sort of standard. And there was people out there that were working on it who don't have their platinum level, who are all of a sudden going to say, oh, I'm now not going to be able to apply for another 3 years at least, because I'll have to get all these levels in between before I can apply. So what FIAP did is they put in one special extra application round, which is right now. The closing date for that's the 1st of December. Whilst anyone could put in for that at that timing, it's really aimed at the people who don't hold platinum, to give them the opportunity to put forward the set that they've already been working on. So, but as I say, the closing date for that is on the 1st of December, and we're only days away from that. And if you've been out there keeping it quiet and not planning to tell me, you've already passed my date. So that's, as I say, this is a done deal. Okay, we've got the new level. So there's the novice level. So the novice level is a new distinction, easier to achieve for newcomers or photographers eager to enter the group of FIAP members bearing a FIAP distinction. The application is via the same application form and checked via the FIAP liaison officer, and indeed in our instance also the verifying officers. It's basically the same procedure. The thing with the novice level, and they're trying to encourage people and get people off to some sort of start. They don't have an application fee. It's free. So there is no application fee for NFIAP. Likewise, they have asked nations not to charge an administration fee, and APS will follow with that as well. So there will be no administration fee. There will, however, still be the requirement to have a MyFIAP profile, and as with all applications for FIAP distinctions, you will need to purchase a FIAP card. So that's for your first level your first application you buy a FIAP card. After that, your FIAP card is routinely replaced as part of any subsequent level you do. And they put your new distinction on it. But for the first, prior to your first level, you will need a My FIAP profile and you will need a FIAP card. And that FIAP card will cost you 50 euros. But that's your only expense. And then you've already got it when you're doing your AFIAP, if you do your next level. So NFIAP is an optional start point. The only thing is that the only results you can use on that application are results gained from starting as of the 2025 year. So you can't use results from a salon that's got a 2024 patronage number or earlier. It's got to be this year onwards. Any questions on the NFIAP on this one?
Yeah, it's Felicity here. I'll be hopefully applying for NFIAP. And you're saying that we apply for the card just before we put in an application. Does that mean the card that we buy won't have any distinction on it, and then we have to buy a new one if we get our NFIAP?
The card will be replaced routinely when you get your distinction.
Yep.
So that's part of your application for your distinction includes a new card. So you will get a new card after you get your distinction if you get it.
Okay. So you only have to pay once at the
It's actually built into the fees of the higher level of all the other levels. I mean, yours is free, but it's actually built into the fees that is included but you're not buying it separately. You only effectively purchase it once, and then every time you apply, when you get your distinction, they will replace your card and they'll put your distinction on it. The other thing I should mention is that when you apply, you will be emailed your card number immediately. So you do have to cite on your application both your FP number, your FIAP profile number, and your FIAP card number.
Yeah.
It's filled on the application form for each, and you will get those immediately that you do your My FIAP profile. You'll get your FP number, and when you buy your card, it will immediately show you your card on screen with your card number. So you'll immediately have your card number, and the physical card will then arrive in the post sometime later.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next one.
Bronwyn?
Yeah.
Just on that in NFIAP and the 2025 requirement, because I was just looking at my results and everything. I had everything that would check off that first line. However, there was nothing in 2025. So what happens to all my FIAP salon results from prior to 2025? If I can't use them to get into NFIAP?
Use them for your AFIAP.
Sorry?
Use them for your next level, your AFIAP.
So I can use them for that one. Okay, so
it's just
I'm verging on that 75 already.
It's got the NFIAP is very specific in relation to that particular criteria. All the other distinctions you can go back to results from the year 2000 if you want to.
Yeah. I'm waiting on competitions coming back in this weekend, next weekend, and a couple of weeks there that are in this particular year. So who knows? Hopefully they might yield the extra ones I need. I hadn't been previously. Prior competition was more PSA than it was FIAP. So I've just looked at those. So all right, okay. I won't. They're not in vain. I won't lose them all then.
Yeah, so you may well want to just jump straight to AFIAP. Remember that you've got to have a year between each application. So if you apply for NFIAP next year with whatever results you've got coming in, and you already have what you need for AFIAP with these extra results together with your 2024 results, I would be telling you, pay your fee and get your AFIAP.
Yeah, okay. Go straight to that.
Just jump straight there. You know, there's just no, because you're going to do that anyhow when you do your AFIAP. It's probably going to have more prestige associated with having your AFIAP over your N, and why waste a year?
Yeah.
If you've got what you need, just go straight there.
Yeah. Hopefully countries might be a little bit issue, but anyway, that's something we just have to wait and see what comes out of these 3 or 4 comps. Yeah. Okay.
Now there's something I'm going to just come back straight onto right now. You will have noticed that there's a few things missing from what was required in our previous distinctions. There is the big one, and people keep asking me, oh, what about the circuits? There is no complex requirements in relation to circuits. There used to be all these requirements that you could only count one country from a circuit, you could only count one award per application on your submitted photos from a circuit, all these sorts of things. A circuit is just treated as a group of salons. There's no criteria related to circuits. So if you've got 4 countries in a circuit, you can count 4 countries. Okay? You'll notice that there's awards requirements, number of works, and a number of countries. There's not even a salon count. Okay? There used to be a requirement for a certain number of salons, a certain number of countries, a certain number of works, and potentially awards depending on what level. And that's been simplified a lot. And that's one of the things I've really liked about the change. I've liked that change because it's just, the circuits have caused an immense amount of confusion over the years. It's the one I get most commonly asked about. Okay, the portfolio distinctions. Now, I've only got a limited amount of information about this, which doesn't go much beyond what is actually in the form. They are still building the platform. I believe, in fact, Romain told me over email a few days ago that he was meeting with the platform builders in a week's time. So that'll be in a few days. In fact, I think that's probably why he's flown out of the country a day or so ago. They're meeting together and I would assume, because I sent him a list of questions and he said the answers to a number of these will be forthcoming after that meeting. So he couldn't answer a number of things that I was hoping to be able to talk to you about here today, but I do have some answers to some of them. So firstly, the portfolios are not cumulative. So when we talk a portfolio of, for the first level, FIAP, you require to submit 1 portfolio of 10 photos. When you're required to submit 2 for FIAP bronze, it is not including the first one. Okay, it's not cumulative. It is another 2. So by the time you're doing bronze, you have the total of 3. Okay, and it continues on. When you do your silver, you submit 3 new portfolios, and they mustn't be similar. There goes that word again. Mustn't be very similar to your previous ones, and the assessors will have access to what you've already got. So each of these levels. Now, I'm going to come back here particularly for people who might be considering masters, because this is where you can't use the same works. If you are applying for portfolio distinctions, you cannot use the same works for your master's application. They must be different. So if you are putting together a master application, you can absolutely do that. It doesn't preclude you from also doing a portfolio, but with a different set of photos. And indeed, you can work your way through the portfolio levels. And that's where the Grand Master comes in. Because if you reach this higher level, this master portfolio, MFIAP, and you hold your master photographer of FIAP, those 2 combined will automatically give you the Grand Master. You don't have to apply for it. Once you hold master portfolio and master photographer, you become a Grand Master. And it'll be quite some time before we see any of those, because in fact it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a minimum, because you've got to have a year between your applications for these. And I'll
Can I just interrupt and ask a clarifying question? It's not really a question, it's a point, and you can just correct it or clarify on it. My understanding is that if you are applying, let's say for FIAP Silver, and you've got 3 portfolios of 10 images each, and 2 of the portfolios go through as passes and 1 fails, it means that the next year you can submit that 3rd portfolio.
That's actually sooner.
To apply for your silver.
That's actually sooner. Yeah, you can do it sooner.
Yeah,
so it's a year between your successful applications.
Okay.
So you've got 2 portfolios through and you've got 1 that you haven't. On the next round, and there's 3 rounds per year, you can resubmit that 3rd portfolio that didn't get through and you can make changes to it.
So that's a really important point, because if people feel like they've put in 2 portfolio and 1 fails and 1 goes through, they feel like, oh my God, I have to do it all again. But no, they just come back and add an additional.
So they've got 1 sitting in Kitty, and they can sit with those 1 or 2 in Kitty for however long.
Yeah, fantastic.
So for the year, and this is one of the questions I sought to clarify, whether it was a calendar year or a year from when you applied, because you can jump in on board at any point during the year. You can continue, you can resubmit a portfolio with changes. You can change photos. In fact, you could even change the portfolio itself. You can resubmit for that one that you've missed out on, and you can actually do so at a cheaper price. It's not, you're not paying the full application price again. There's a super fee for doing that. And you can continue to have a go until you get that last one through. And then once you've got it through and you've achieved that level, you can't apply for another level for a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's, I think, very inspiring, and it allows people to continue going forward without feeling bad about it. So I just do have one more question in relation to a break. Were you planning on taking a break
tonight?
Or are you going to keep going? I have a question in the chat. Somebody's asked a question in here. I'm not sure if you've already addressed it. I think you might have.
I can't see the chat because I'm on.
No, I can read it out to you if you're happy to take that question now, or we can leave it to a break.
Yeah, no, we're already talking, so go.
Okay, so she's where are you, Grace? Are you here? Have you got your microphone on? Okay, she's gone silent. Okay, so basically she's referring to the 2016 document in relation to the levels and how much you need to apply, so many acceptances and so many works in so many countries for the different levels. She writes, so that's a screenshot. So she writes, just wish to confirm that the above item from 011/2016, that since the date on the applicant's diploma for the FIAP distinction, obtained a total, at least in international salons under FIAP patronage, has been removed. I've answered her to say the new document supersedes all previous versions. So she writes, thanks. Does that mean no date limit for the image to be accepted? For example, the image has been accepted in year 2018 and I never put it on my previous applications. Can I apply for future applications?
So there's no limit on when you put it, unless you're jumping up through into the diamond levels. There's no
really read the rules, and
it's the new rule. You don't ignore the old rules. The new
Yeah.
rules are the ones that apply to 2026. The old rules have no bearing on them.
If it doesn't say you can't do it, or if it gives you a clear indication that you have to do a certain thing, you follow those rules.
Yeah, I'm not altogether sure what she's asking there. If it's,
I think what she's saying is that
the old rules are
she
relevant.
hasn't used an image way back in 2018, but she's had image.
Yeah.
Where are you, Grace? Come on.
Yes, sorry, I'm here now. Yeah, because it's very strict for the apply for the new application every year. You can't really put on any acceptance privacy like before 2 years. Only have to be in that year, in during the year after you gain the just say you get a AFIP and you wish to have EFIP, for you apply for EFIP, you have to get all the accepted between the last year after AFIP the date, like 1st April. Yeah.
No, Grace, that's never been
but
the case.
now is that is
so the only what you're referring to there, so you AFIP and EFIP have always been cumulative. You can put all your results from AFIP for many years prior to your AFIP on your EFIP application. That has always been the case. There was a change,
excuse me,
but you had to jump when you went to EFIP bronze and above. You had to start again, new results. That is gone. And that's what we were covering earlier. There is no longer that gap. You can put on your gold application, anything right back to your AFIP. All those results all count all together. They're all on the one application. It all counts, all of it together towards the total that you need. There is no start again until you hit diamond.
You're asking, Grace, can I take it that you're asking if you got a gold medal on an image that was not included on any previous applications, can you use it in future application? That's what you're asking?
Yeah, just say I got gold medals from year 2018 and I have never used. Can I apply for EFIP silver?
Yes, of course you can. And you can use all those results. And you were able to this year too. That hasn't changed. That's always been the case, as long as it wasn't prior to your EFIP certificate date. But the EFIP certificate date criteria has gone now, and you can use all of them. And in fact, there will be a lot of results that people may well have that sit between their EFIP and their EFIP bronze, where they were never able to use them for their bronze because they had a date. The certificate date was the date was before the salon was before the certificate date. That has gone, and that was one of the big things I was trying to make sure everyone understood. That criteria is no longer there. It's just all
hugely important for those people who've never mentioned to those dates.
Yeah, because I have, like back to 5 years ago, so many, but then you can't really apply all these accepted in one application and just say you start on AFIP, and then then from EFIP they said in the old document you cannot do anything. You have to gain the new acceptance after EFIP for the level.
After EFIP, yes, you had to have new results. You had to be talking new results, but that's no longer there. You can go back and accumulate all those things that you never claimed, and you can put in everything that you had on your AFIP and EFIP application towards that total for your bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. Okay?
I see. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Good.
Sorry, problem was, does that apply for the new limits on circuits and things like that prior to for this year?
There's no circuit criteria. That was what I was just saying before. There is no criteria associated with circuits.
So you can get images from previous years and apply them now going forward.
Yep. So I mean, your circuit, you've always been able to use all your results from a circuit. What you've been limited on is being able to count the number of salons and the number of countries from a circuit. But that's all gone. A circuit's just counted as a group of salons, and you just count them as individual salons. There's not even a salon count. Your count is a count of countries, and that's it.
And that works for the awards as well?
Yep.
Okay.
So a lot of people, when they look at these results, and they think, "Oh, I need so much more," and I say no, because you can use in that total. You add in all your EFIAP results, and you add in all those ones that you couldn't put in between your FIAP and your bronze, all of those can be put in now, and all of those ones that you didn't bother to put in because you had more than enough for that particular level, they can all go in. So when people look at some of those higher figures, they often don't realise that all of a sudden all these things that they really didn't previously have on there, weren't able to previously put on that application, they can now.
Question?
Yes, David.
Can we get a download of what FIAP have against our names? Because there's various things that basically are acceptances I threw away after EFIAP. And I'm also looking at the new spreadsheet, and it specifically allows you to use images with typos as long as you list them under the same image number. So basically, I think I have quite a few. It would make it easier for the verifying officers if we start off with the current listing that the FIAP have against our name, and it'd make it a lot easier for us.
You're talking about the FIAP database, which is what we use for verification.
Yes.
At this point in time, no, we don't provide that to people. There's a lot of errors on it, apart from anything else. You should always be maintaining your own records, because there are often errors on the database, and indeed you should be regardless, because you've got to make sure that you don't enter the images into the same salon that you've entered.
Yes, but okay. Well, that's all very well, because I actually don't find it that hard to make sure I don't put same images into the same salon, because I basically only enter new images. But I have quite a few where I've so I think of one image where with a really odd name of the town, and I dropped a G out of the middle of it, and I've got half the images I had to throw away. And also I hadn't realised after EFIAP that I kept entering, so I got quite a few acceptances there that I basically threw all of the results away. And if we could actually get a download of what FIAP actually have against our names, it would make it a lot easier for us. This is a one-off, after this year, up to this current time, and it'd make it easier for the verifying officers too.
So we're not really meant to do this, but have a talk to me down the track. Everybody, please maintain your records. There is no throwaway scenario. However, you said something about them allowing typos and things. They don't want typos in your application form.
I can specifically, if you look at it, it says completed on page C, number of different titles of the work. And then underneath, title typos can cause the count to differ from the real number.
I think you're misreading that.
I think what basically they're saying is that they were accepting typos as long as you specify.
No, in fact,
it's that's the way I don't see how else you could read it.
David, have you watched the tutorial on that form yet?
No, I'd basically given up entry actually after I saw the new. I was totally confused by the new rules, so I basically, once that came out, I stopped entering at all.
That's a bit sad. David, go back to the tutorial, assuming that you are going to reconsider your decision there. Go back to the to the link that I talked about that's on that form, and watch the tutorial, because they go through the form and they do talk about that criteria, and they talk about the problems with leading spaces and all that sort of thing. They don't want, if you've been entering with titles incorrect, etc., that's, to my understanding, you still can't do that. You've still got to be absolutely watertight on that. But you go to that tutorial, because it does actually talk about what you're talking about. And I can't pull up the form in front of me because I'm on screen share. But that's my understanding, that we still have to be very strict on that. And you must be really, really careful. And that, for the newcomers in the room, you need to make sure that you are utterly 100% consistent with the title of your photos. It is the ID of your photo. Now, coming back to you, David, with what you've been talking about, you may recall that I said that they're going to introduce a requirement to put the, well, not a requirement, for the entrant, but a requirement for the salon to provide a box for your FP number, which can be collected and collated onto the FIAP database as well. It's going to be voluntary for the entrant, but I absolutely think everyone should be doing that, because long range, FIAP do in fact want to be able to provide you with a list, but they've got to be sure it's accurate. There are people with the same names. There are people, in fact, my maiden name was Stewart, Bronwyn Stewart. There is a Bronwyn Stewart in the Australian Photographic Society. Had I not married, there'd be two of us. So, you know, two Australians with the same name. And if you've got a common name, that's a regular issue. And people change their names, they move countries. All these things that identify us are potentially changeable, and people use variations on their names. Sometimes people put their initials in. Sometimes they use an abbreviations of their name, like Dan or Daniel, or Liz or Elizabeth. You know, you get all these variations that people do. And the reason that they want to use a unique identifying number is because we get past all that, and it means when their hope long range is to, in fact, automate a lot more of the distinctions. And the only way they can do that is to make the accuracy of the data and the unique identification of the results in that data associated with the correct person absolutely watertight. And that's one of the reasons they're introducing that unique number. And they talked specifically about in the future maybe being able to, for the applicant to maybe being able to download a set of their results from MyFIAP by doing that, because they've got that data there. But they've got to reach a point where it's absolutely definitive that it's the right person. And
I always thought it was strange that I thought PSA were well ahead in that regard, and I couldn't understand why FIAP was doing it. Is someone with a computer background?
There's no requirement on an entry form at this point in time for PSA to put in a PSA number either.
Oh, I haven't entered PSA for quite a while, but I seem to recall quite a few of them actually required the number. No, but my memory could be wrong.
I'm not sure what number you'd be referring to, but there's never been a number in the PSA system or the FIAP system.
Yeah. PSA are just as bad. I've got another Peter O'Brien in Australia, and I have to now be Peter John O'Brien to separate me from him. And there is no PSA number.
Yeah, I was going to, the PSA number, there's someone else did an X-num, which they tried to make up their own number to get around that, because there was no numerical thing. So, David, it's never been a PSA number. It's just been something that a separate body said, oh, let's have every exhibitor can have this special number.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was assuming it was something to do with PSA.
And I know what John's talking about. It's an external body. It's got nothing to do with FIAP or PSA.
Yeah. Okay.
PSA did actually provide a number many years ago, but it never got used.
Yeah. Well, it's never been required on the entry forms.
No, it hasn't. No, they gave everyone a number, but no one ever used it. There was no place to put it.
Yep.
But PSA, I think now basing the recognising people by their email address. But the FIAP number is a better idea.
Change their email addresses too.
I know, it's
This is why you need a unique number. So FIAP have moved forward with that. It'll be your FP number, which is your FIAP profile number, and that is they're requiring all salons and this literally came out in the same mail with this with the application form and the PowerPoint that I'm using here today. There was a notice in that saying that all salon, well, actually, no, it wasn't. My apologies, it wasn't. It came out as a separate mail from the MyFIAP system that said from 2026 onwards, salons must provide a box for the FP number, and there's a new a new FIAP Salon file that they must use as well, which has a field for those numbers to be filled in where they are provided by the entrant. So it'll still be voluntary from the entrant aspect, and they probably had to do that just because, you know, they can't just stop people entering if they don't have an FP number. But I'm saying to everyone here, get yourself an FP number, because down the track, they're going to be able to automate a lot of things and be able to punch out your results like David's asking, because they can absolutely say that those are your results. I mean, we have so many problems with names. I mean, Peter's talked about another Peter O'Brien. I mean, I'm looking at his name, O'Brien, and I know for a fact that, you know, a lot of the results in the database miss the apostrophe, because some salon software won't accept apostrophes or hyphens. So anyone with an apostrophe in their name, the name's different again. And remembering that these things go through computer systems, if it's doing it based on name, we've got a problem. So we need a unique identifying number, and that's what's coming. So just make sure you've got one. Anyone who's already got FIAP distinctions will already have a FIAP profile number. They just plonk it in. Anyone who is entering salons, and this will be in my next e-news bulletin, I'll be saying to people, if you are entering salons from 2026 onwards, make sure you set yourself up with a FIAP profile number and put those results, fill it in on the entry form where the box is available, so that going forward, with your results have got your number associated with them, and there is no question that they are your results. You could move countries, it's still your results. Your FP number is not tied to your country. Okay. Right. So going back to the portfolios, which is where we were, there will be an upload platform. It won't be the MyFIAP platform. It's been built separately, but there will probably be a link to it either from your MyFIAP or from the FIAP website itself. When I have that information, it will go in that spot on that I showed you on the APS website, that the distinctions updates page. That's where you will find that information. And indeed, on your when it comes to setting up your MyFIAP profile, remember I also showed you the page that tells you how to do that and the link to do it. So that's why I started with the APS website, so that I don't get all these emails saying, I don't know how to set up a MyFIAP profile. It's there. It's all in the FIAP area of the APS website. Anything you need, you will find it there. Okay, so 3 viewing sessions per year. Now, this is the other thing. They're going to limit, because they're just a bit worried about being overwhelmed all in one hit. They are limiting how many applicants per country per session. And it's limited to 15 applicants per country per session, but it's also per level. Now, obviously, no one's going to be applying for anything but the first level in 2025. The other thing it doesn't count is if you've had well, this first year, it's not relevant because you only put in one portfolio. Oh, actually, no, it's still relevant. If you miss out with that portfolio and you can have another go at it, because you get feedback, you can have another go at it. You aren't counted as one of those 15 when you are having another go. Okay, so the 15 is the people who haven't already had a go. Do you understand what I'm saying? Thumbs up? Yes. I think people are still confused. There's 3 sessions per year. One in January. Oh gosh, I've forgotten the 2 other sessions. I think one's October, but it's 15th of each of these 3 months. If you apply at the first one for the first level, you can be one of up to 15 from this country. If you miss out with that application and they feed back and say, we didn't like this photo and this photo, and you resubmit your application to the next version, there might be another 15 that apply as a first go in the next session. Yours doesn't count as one of the 15 because you're just having another go.
Gotcha.
Yep. And there will be their aim is to have the same reviewers looking at your work across that same year. So if a reviewer gives you feedback on your work listen to it, because he's likely to look at whatever you give them likely to remember it and know what they said when you then resubmit with something different. Okay? Their aim is to have the same assessor look at the same work within the 1 year.
So Jackie's just made the comment, but there are different populations in different countries, but this relates just to Australia.
No, that number is for every country.
Okay.
Yes, that was heavily talked about, and they've basically said, look, let's see how we go for this first year, because what they didn't want is they didn't want a massive number of people applying such that it just totally overwhelmed the system. So
I can't even see 15 applicants going in each year yet.
But remember, it will be 15 per level. So next year,
a huge
15 at the first level and another 15 at the second level.
Yeah.
For a total of 30. It's per level per year. And next year, they may well review it. They may well look at what's happening within certain countries.
The question I have is, Bronwyn, are you going to accept them as first come, first served basis, or are you going to weed out, are you going to discern which are most likely, based on your experience, to go through?
I'm not going to vet them at all.
Okay.
The only vetting I'm going to do, so it doesn't come to me. It goes directly into FIAP.
Okay. So it's just basically...
Then it comes to me to approve it. And I've got 10 days to either approve it or reject it. The only basis on which I'm going to reject it is if you're not an APS member and not eligible, or if I see something that concerns me, I'm going to raise it with you.
This is after they have approved it.
No. So FIAP provide the platform, a person submits their application, and I will get a notification that they have done so.
You'll go and have a look, make sure everything's
okay, and say, for an APS member, I see no problem with this application. They've got the 10 photos they needed. They've got 8 there. I'm going to obviously get in touch with them and say, you don't have what you need. And they won't. The other thing is, which is something else I actually checked with Romain in these last few days, is you're not going to be charged until I've given it the green light. So if there's a major problem with it, like you've put in 8 images and you're meant to have 10, and you think, oh, I was sure it was 8. I'm sure it was 8 for the first level. I haven't got another 2. And I say, well, you should withdraw this application because you haven't got what you need.
Absolutely.
And they won't have already been charged because I haven't given that the green light. But I only get 10 days to approve it. And if I don't either approve or reject it, it goes through as approved regardless. So at which point you'll get billed for the application.
Yeah. But we know Bronwyn, and we know that Bronwyn will be right on it, and she'll...
Yeah, I'll be sitting on it.
Give it the nod or the not nod.
What I don't know, so one of the other questions I asked was how far ahead they're going to provide the platform from each level. Are they just going to have the platform open all year and, they accumulate them towards the next application round? I don't have the answer for that. But I've put the question out there, which means they will think about it and hopefully make sure they've got an answer for that when they've made their relevant decisions. But personally, I would like to see an application window rather than it being open all year round, because otherwise it makes it very hard for me to ensure I'm around when an application...
Exactly. That's right, because you've got to take holidays too. Veronica asked that confirms that this is not a progressive distinction. You can't jump in levels, and I'm sure you can't jump in levels.
That's correct. You can't. You can't.
How should you be able to?
Start with the P level. Then you can, once you've achieved the P, 1 year later, and as I say, it might take you a few goes to get your portfolio through. Once you've achieved the P, 1 year later, you can apply for the next level.
And Jackie, I'm not going to bother Bronwyn with this, but your last question is a yes, or your second last question?
Is it a question someone else might want to know the answer to?
That means, he says, the country definition is not related to the nationality, but the affiliation with which National Photo Society. Yes, that's very straightforward. Also, with the portfolios, do you have a similar subject like portraits or a mixture? Whatever you like, Veronica. It's any topic, your choice.
Yeah. So, but your photos must be a coherent set.
Needs to be a theme. Yes, exactly.
And each set must be different to all your previous ones. Yeah, you can't have 2 sets of the woodpeckers in your front yard where you've got 20 photos of your woodpeckers and you've produced 2 sets of them. That's
if you did not watch, I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. He did a really great overview of applying for MFIAP. Now, I'm going to suggest that what was said in that particular video, and it is on the APS website, will be just as relevant for the portfolios. If you haven't seen it, it's excellent. Go and have a look at it. Lots of good tips in that one.
Who was this?
Remember, he did an MFIAP talk on
who was it?
Coherency, one of the FIAP.
Oh, you're talking about Lewis.
Possibly.
So Lewis Frank, who's the biennials director, when he did our distinctions presentations this year, I got him to talk about the FIAP biennials, and the FIAP biennials have a requirement for the body of work to be a coherent set, and you actually get points in the biennial for your coherency. It's actually worth quite a lot within the competition. If you want to watch that, go to the FIAP area of the APS website, and everyone knows where that is as of tonight if they didn't already, and look for the distinctions presentations tab. It's on the same left-hand menu, and that's a whole set of videos of the distinctions presentations for each year. There's a talk at the end of each of those, and it is the one from this year, the 2025 one, and it's the distinctions presentations themselves finish at about the 1 hour mark. And after that, there's Lewis's talk. And it applies to a lot of things, including MFIAP. And in fact, Lewis does have his MFIAP. And if you go to his website, he's got a lot of bodies of work. In fact, I would be expecting him to be one of the first people to achieve the Grand Master, because he's just got a whole lot of sets ready to go because they're on his website. I've seen them.
On the MFIAP website, looking at all of those portfolios, you'll get the idea immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a theme is and a storytelling theme.
Correct.
But
thanks so much, guys.
Okay, so we're all good on what's on this page. So different themes for all applications. Reviewers will have insight into your previously sent themes. So if you're applying for bronze, they will know what your portfolio for P was. And likewise, when you're getting up to gold, they will know what your previous ones all were. They will be 5 international portfolio reviewers, and they will all have a particular, there's a criteria for those assessors. They will actually be paid for their work because they will be doing a lot of work associated with this. They will actually receive a small fee, and they will be a minimum of EFIAP or MFIAP with international judging experience of at least 30 FIAP certified events. So they will be very experienced people. Okay, so whoever looks at your portfolios is going to be really, really across what a good image is. Oh, and there's the other thing. Someone asked in another information session whether there's a requirement to get better and better with each of these sets. And the answer was actually no. It's just a new set. Still a high standard at each time. And as I said to you earlier, if you achieve your MFIAP, your Master Photographer FIAP, which is the one that we currently have, and the Portfolio Master, you will be automatically made a Grand Master. Okay, these ones are relatively quick. So the administrative distinctions, these are the same as they were. However, there is one thing I really want to talk to you about on this one. So the first level of service distinction is the ES-FIAP, which is Excellence Services Rendered. And it's awarded to those persons who've given exceptional service over a long period of time at an international level for the benefit of FIAP. Now, the new set of words that's been added to this is The ES FIAP distinction is awarded to judges who have judged 30 salons organised under FIAP patronage. So that's something new. That is something they are going to give you. If you've done 30 salons if you've judged 30 salons under FIAP patronage, you will receive your ES FIAP. Now, they obviously have records back to a certain point in time, which will be when they set up the MyFIAP platform, I believe, which will be around 2013, 2014. Having said that, the MyFIAP platform, so you know, the salon platform where people apply for their salon's application to have patronage, they have the record of all the judges for those salons from that platform. However, some people may have results prior to that platform, and indeed that for a couple of years there, not every salon went through that platform. So any of you who have been judging for a significant number of years, especially prior to the MyFIAP platform, I'd like you to go back through your records and collate what you have judged, please, and keep track of it. And if you've reached 30, I want you to tell me, because it, as I say, if it's a long way back, FIAP won't be trawling back through old catalogues and things like that. To the best of my knowledge, they will rely on the MyFIAP platform and the more recent stuff. So if you've only been judging in those recent years, they will have it, and they will know it, and they will know who's hit that 30. But if you've potentially got stuff earlier, as I say, it must be, we're not talking about PSA salons here or any other competition. It must be, you only count salons that have been run under FIAP patronage. If you've judged one of those, I want you to keep track of it. Okay?
Bronwyn, I can't find that video by Lewis. Do you know where it sits?
So in the FIAP area of the APS website, there's the FIAP Distinctions presentations in the menu on the left-hand side.
Okay, FIAP distinction information. FIAP. Presentation, distinction presentation.
Yeah, distinctions presentations. They're each of our distinct. You click in there and you'll see every one of our events.
One wasn't it? Whoops.
Hmm?
It was a.
You're on mute there, Pia.
Award.
Okay, yeah.
The paperwork can be a little oval.
Stop. All right, yeah, I'll have a look. Sure, it's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay. The new ones, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. There's a Lifetime Achievement Award, which did in fact they have awarded one of those at the Congress this year, not Congress, the photo meeting. And there's an honourable member, which is one that they give to people who are outside the FIAP network, you know, who might have made significant contributions. And they gave one of those out in China at the photo meeting as well. Okay, cheat sheet for photographers. So this is what they've put together just to basically lay it out in table form. It's relatively self-explanatory and I'm really not going to spend time on it because we've been going through it for what we've, all these past slides we've been going through it. But your category A distinctions, your salon result-based distinctions here. From platinum onwards, you can also go across and do your master, and you can continue to work on your diamond levels as well. Each of these levels supersedes another. You do not show both on you don't show diamond 1 and diamond 2 and diamond 3 all on your one after your name. The higher one supersedes the other. But if you hold MFIAP, you show both because they're two separate things. So if you held your MFIAP and you held platinum, you show that you put both of those after your name. And likewise, when you get if you get one of your portfolio awards, that's separate again and also goes after your name. However, if you were to achieve your Master of the Portfolios and Master of FIAP, and get your Grandmaster, then you wouldn't show Master, you wouldn't show MP FIAP, you would show GM, but you could again continue to show your diamonds because they're not based, this and this are not based on salon results. That's a separate thing. And there's always a 1 year interval between each step. And when we talk step, we're talking about successfully achieving that level. Okay. So someone talked about the countries. And let's revisit this because it is text again that is confusing. Don't pay a lot of attention to this. This is the same panel that we've been looking at together with the limit of 10. We've already covered that. So the candidates must provide 5 photographic works. For NFIAP, at least 2 acceptances in 3 different countries. So the 5 provided pictures must have achieved 2 acceptances in 3 different countries and must be mentioned on page A of the application form. So, for example, on page A, where you've got your 5 slots, you would list a photo which has 2 acceptances with 1 acceptance in country A. You would have on line 2, 2 acceptances with at least one of those in country B, and image 3, you would have 2 acceptances with at least 1 acceptance in country C, and you've met the criteria. And it doesn't matter what what countries the other acceptances were in, or what your other images had acceptances. They might be the same two of these, country A and country B again. It doesn't matter. But you've just got to have 3 countries represented. They've each got to have 2 acceptances, and amongst those acceptances, across each of those images, you've got to have 3 countries represented. Okay? Everyone happy with that? And then further to that, so same scenario, just obviously with the different criteria for AFIAP and EFIAP, at least 3 acceptances in 5 different countries. The 5 provided pictures must have achieved 3 acceptances. So that's point 1. Each of those images must have received 3 acceptances. And likewise with NFIAP, each of those images that you submit, and we're talking about the submitted photos here, the photos that you give to FIAP. So each of these must have 2 acceptances each for NFIAP. For EFIAP and AFIAP, they must have 3 acceptances each. But when you pick one of each of these acceptances and say, I must have a country A, a country B, a country C, a country D, and a country E. And we're not talking about country A and country B being represented within the one photo. We're talking 5 photos, and that each of them can represent a different country's acceptance. Everyone clear on that? There's absolute silence. So I'm going to take that since no one's put their hand up and sung out, that they understand that. And again, going up to the next level, it's the same thing. Candidates for EFIAP B to EFIAP P must provide 5 photographic works, at least an award in 5 different countries. And the 5 provided pictures must have achieved, so the 5 provided pictures must have achieved 1 award in 5 countries and must be mentioned on page A of your application. So you will need to list one. You write in your country, you write in your photograph, and where it was awarded. And you might have multiple awards for that photo, but what you need to show on your application form, and it must also be shown on your main list, not just on page A, and it must be part of what's verified, is you've got a country A, country B, country C, country D, country E. As I say, they may have multiple awards. You just got to make sure that you can submit a different country for each of them. And you put that on page, you list that on page A. Now, for the diamond levels, you now have to have 2 awards for each of your photograph, and that's new. It used to be, again, that you just had to have 5 awarded images. In fact, it was not 5; it was a different number of images for each level. But it's 5. They just want 5 again now. 5 photos at every level. That's just going to be across the board. And in this, you actually have to have each of these photos awarded at least twice. They've got to be double awarded photos. And across those doubles, in amongst those doubles, they've got to have at least a country A. Once you've got to be able to represent each photo with a different country, an award in a different country. You don't have to list all those 10 awards. So you've got 5 photos, just show 5 of them here. They can see your other awards on page C, because you've got all your results listed there. And going up into the levels where we're not even there yet, and won't be there for a little while yet, when you're starting to look at the FIAP Diamond 6 and Diamond 8, each of those photos has got to have 3 awards. So just keep those sorts of things in mind. If you've got a cracker of an image that's got 3 awards, and you've got a choice for when you apply for Diamond 1, 2, 3, or 4, or indeed 5, about which one you submit to that lower level, and you've got one that's already got 3 and you can choose, hold on to your 3, because having a photo that gets 3 awards, that, depending on the photos, that can be a little bit hard to achieve. So just always think ahead and say that photo's a good one to wait for, because there is no time limit as to when you can use this. As long as you post that switch from FIAP Platinum to Diamond, it's something you can use, and you haven't put it on an application prior to your Platinum, from Platinum or before. Portfolios. Now there's the dates. I knew the dates were somewhere. 15th of January, 15th of May, and the 15th of October will be the upload by. But what they haven't told me is when the upload platform will be available. All I can say to you is, if you're planning to apply for this, be ready for it. The criteria is in the document, be ready for it. And when that platform opens, lodge your application. I'm kind of hopeful that we actually won't hit the 15, because I'd feel a bit sad if we're knocking people back. But always bear in mind that if you miss out on putting yours forward in January, you've got the option of May. And indeed, even the people who miss out in January without as I said to you earlier, if they miss out in January and they get another shot at it, because they can resubmit for the lower reduced fee, they don't count as one of those 15. They're separate, counted separately. So these are 15 new applicants. For each of these 3 days, so maximum of 15 per country per distinction will be accepted. For each of these 3 dates, applications of previous participants that were refused and that reapply are not included in that count. Portfolios must have a theme. The title should briefly describe the theme and must be in English or French. And they've got examples of themes in the distinctions document, and I can't open that at the same time, but you can have a look yourself. Images and themes submitted for the various portfolios distinctions must be distinct from one another and not similar. That word similar again. There's a few people who are hearing me when I have beat on about the word similar. It's the bane of my life, this word similar. They must have different titles. Same or similar photos cannot be used in different portfolios. So just be mindful of that when you look at that, because everyone sort of was saying, well, look, if I put a set of birds in and then I put a different set of birds in, does that count as similar? And there was all these questions coming up, and I'm saying, let's see what this definition comes back as when FIAP put it through. It doesn't hurt us right now, because everyone's only going to be applying for the first level for another year, for the next year. So hopefully we will have that text sometime soon. So pictures used for successful MFIP portfolios cannot be used. So you can't use part or any or all of your MFIP portfolios, your MFIP, which is your master photographer, for portfolios. I talked about that before. Other pictures awarded in FIAP salons and used for distinctions other than portfolio distinctions can be used. So if these photos have been, kicking around in salons and getting the salon results towards your salon-based distinctions, your category A distinctions, they can go in as part of your portfolio as well. That's fine.
Where is the link to upload?
That's what I was saying. We haven't got a platform yet.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's not there yet. Are we there yet? No, we're not.
And do you think that people will need to just touch base with you like we do with the other application awards? Do we need to just touch base and say, hey, Bronwyn, I'm going to put something forward for the portfolio?
So that register that I showed you all, I want everyone registering. And I've put that list now includes the option to register.
Paying attention before.
It's not going to give you any advantage going into being one of those first 15 to apply if there's more than 15. Registering will not give you preference or anything like that. All that registration does is means I know you're out there.
Yeah.
So I can keep you in touch. Means I know that when that platform opens, I'm going to put it in that distinctions updates page on the APS website. But if I know you're out there on the register, I'm going to write to you all and say it's open. Go for it.
Okay.
You must register. If you don't register, I don't know about you. I can't keep in touch with you, and you'll be reliant purely on the website and on e-news. And remember that we're going into the Christmas period where there won't be an e-news possibly for a bigger slot of time. I don't know what's happening with e-news across.
So we've got December will be out. And I believe that January will skip January and probably go straight to February.
So this is where it becomes very important for you to know about those pages I showed you on the APS website. They exist there to be able to bridge these gaps and to be able to reach people quickly, but the register is the absolute fastest way for me to reach you. Make sure you register, please. But as I say, the register does not give you priority access to the portfolios being one of those first 15. All that is a first in on the platform. That's all there is to it. Okay, so portfolios must have a theme. Can't be similar. Can't be used if they've been. Can't use anything associated with your MFIAP. If a portfolio is not accepted, the candidate can reapply for the specific theme that was not approved during the next submission period. A minor supplementary fee will apply. After 1 year of refusal, the initial complete fee must be paid again. And the date on the certificate will reflect the most recent closing date used to finalise the selection. So your certificate date will be one of the dates associated with finalising one of these applications. But if you've, for instance, applied for 3 portfolios, you've got 2 through, and then you take another 2 submissions before you get the 3rd one through, the date will be associated with that 3rd one. And indeed, that's when you start your count for 1 year for your next application.
It's interesting that the sizing matters a lot. 3,600 on the longer side. So we can't really dig too far back into our...
The reason for the 3,600 rule is about being able to print the photos.
Yeah.
Because anything in the FIAP collection can be used in exhibitions. And indeed, what our FIAP exhibition centres can do is they can tap on, so it's Jesus who now looks after the FIAP collection. Jesus is gorgeous. Jesus is in Spain, and they could tap on his shoulder and say, Jesus, could you please send us, we'd love to put an exhibition together in our exhibition centre on the topic of, could you send us a selection of photos we could exhibit, please, from the FIAP collection?
Yeah, very much a print orientated distinction.
Well,
in the sense of,
when it comes to the photos that you submit to FIAP, they want to be able to exhibit them.
Yeah. Which means that the maker can exhibit them as well. So this is a very good, you can use them in so many ways. The APS honours, you can submit them into the Head-On Festival. You can make an exhibition and have your own gallery exhibition.
All those sorts of things. And
so many choices.
Masters and portfolio do make you think very differently. And it is a very different sort of approach, and it takes you down a very different path, and very much towards things like holding your own personal exhibitions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually a really important skill set as artists for us to develop.
Absolutely.
So
I think you've already answered this, but if you weren't accepted until the 15th of October, and it says that you can submit 3 times for that application, for that portfolio, so will that take you through to the 15th of October?
So you can keep going. It's just you'll get the whole fee again. You'll get another whole application fee, because each time you have a go, you'll just get a little supplementary fee. You know, if you've missed out, they'll just charge you a small amount, not the whole application fee again, to have another.
What I'm saying is, if you're not accepted in the
third, you can keep
first,
going.
your acceptance of getting in is in the 15th of October. So if you don't have an accepted portfolio, will that take you through until the 15th of October in the following year to allow you for those 3 applications for the 3 goes if they were denied?
Yeah. That was one of the questions that I sent to them before this session, and I didn't have an answer to it.
For me, it makes sense that if it's not accepted, you would be eligible to upload something in January. If it was a brand new portfolio, I mean, to me that makes sense.
Yeah, no, if it's a brand new portfolio, we're not really talking about that. What we're talking about with Veronica here is the same portfolio. If you can keep going and adjust it and modify it. The danger with going into the following year is that you may have a different assessor looking at it. So what they're trying to do is keep the same assessor looking at the same sets.
Yeah, I understand that, but it makes it a bit hard if they're only allowing 15 people.
But
if you're not quick enough, or you're not ready to go in and say, I'm not ready until the 15th of May, that will still drag me over into the next year if I'm not accepted in those two tries.
There's all these little gremlins along the way, and yes, I hear you, and that, as I say, I did actually seek to get clarity on that, and the answer I got back was, good question.
My question is,
and I will have to discuss this with Jeff.
So let's just say that it's successful on the 15th of October. So when are the members eligible to submit for their second level? Can they go into January, or do they have to wait that full year for the 15th of October?
Yeah, the date is as of your certificate, which is
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Full year between successful applications.
And I personally think that if you're not ready, you don't put them in. You wait till the next available session. That's a smart move. Anything done in a rush is never going to be fantastic.
I fully agree. That's why I'm asking about this is all a relatively new idea, and I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to have something of good of more than good, exceptional quality to go into, and it's easier not to be denied, but you go in hoping for the best but expect.
It's if you're going for MFIAP, it's unquestionably a very difficult level to achieve. They're not going to, I think am quite comfortable in saying they're not going to be looking for that sort of standard in these portfolios. The master's levels are just an exceptional level. You see maybe a few applicants get through out of 27. It's a tough call, a really tough gig. But these portfolios, they're about having themed sets. You've still got to have that standard there. And if I was to, they haven't talked about what standard they're meant to be, but to me it makes it kind of obvious that they should be roughly international exhibition standard. That's if you're getting the sort of standard you'd expect on a photo that went into an exhibition. But I know that there's going to be some sort of criteria sheet that's going to be given to the assessors, and there was a bit of a conversation between myself and one of the directors about whether we actually make that available.
It would be nice to be able to direct it to what they're looking for, like a general. I think that's the issue with most of us.
Yeah, and I would like to, and this is where my role as FIAP News Director, because I look after FIAP's magazine as the director of that magazine, and the directors section is particularly targeting information and getting information to people. And I'm hoping that that we will ultimately have something along some sort of write-up on this. But at the moment, the people who are who need to write these things are flat out. I haven't got anything in the November any news from either the Distinctions Director or the Patronage Director, and I had a list of things I thought they would write about. And they said, well, one of them didn't answer me. He's clearly flat out. He's busy still trying to build this platform. And the other one said, sorry, Bronwyn, you'll understand at this time, I just can't do this. You know, because he's busy working on all the new distinctions, getting ready for all the new distinction stuff too. So I think we'll see some more flow of information next year as everything settles in. But I have been trying to get yet another lot of information into FIAP News, and unfortunately it was limited because people just only have so much time. Everyone's volunteers. People work. Patronage Director works full time, has a family, is also the FIAP Liaison Officer for his country, and is heavily involved in all this distinction switchover because it involves using the platforms that have been interacts with his platform. So those two services interact a lot.
Yeah, it's always easy to see what you want to find yourself, but there's always a whole big story behind it, a whole lot of people running it. So
it's just it takes time. It takes time, and this is a big shift. This is a really big shift. Okay.
Bronwyn,
yeah.
Can I ask a question that goes back a little bit, but I just want to clarify in my own mind if I'm if I'm doing it the right way. I'm looking at the 5 photos that need to be submitted along with the application for a FIAP in particular. And really, I think the smart thing to do there, because of later applications, is to hold back those that have got awards and bits and pieces, because once you've submitted them once, you can't submit them in later times. What are those 5 photos used for, just out of interest? Because once obviously they've had acceptances and they will collect them. What's the point of them? Is there a judging process associated with it, or is it just a quality control? Or what's the point of the 5 photos being submitted?
They go into the artistic patronage of patrimony. I can't remember the exact words, but it's an artistic collection of photographic works, worldwide artistic photographic collection of works.
Okay, I just wanted to check because sometimes when you see there's 5 photos needed, it's just like almost a final check and a screening process or something like that. Because I'm not going to submit my best photos, obviously, because they're the ones that are award winners and gold medal winners and things like that. And I'm just going to find one that's got 3 acceptances and meet the criteria and put it in.
Yep.
Am I on the right track?
We are absolutely on the right track. It's all strategy.
Well, yeah,
the photos that go into the FIAP collection, they do actually do a little bit of a selection process for what gets shown online, because you can actually there is actually a website where you can go to and actually look at some of the photos in the FIAP collection.
Okay, well, I don't mind whether they put it up online or not. I just wondered what the point of that 5 photos was. Yeah, but you've explained that. Thank you.
Photos are for exhibition. They're used for exhibition. Say the FIAP exhibition centres can call upon a collection.
Yeah, hence the need to go back and find the high-res images, because most of them are stored, like Pia alluded to, 1920 by 1080. So you need to go and find some that are actually still at high-res form in the original catalogues and so on. But yeah, that's okay. All done. Thank you.
Remember that you must always have your raw files too. Whatever you do, don't lose your master files. So they can be called.
No. As we go forward, you will need your raw files because of the.
You already do. You've already been required to hold them for quite some time. And it's particularly important for things like the Nature Division and Photojournalism Division and World in Focus, where they're all reality-based subject areas, and there's specific criteria about what you can and can't do. But now,
I've got no problem with the raw file issue. That's fine. It's just that the edited versions, you need to find those.
I always keep my raw files and my final master file. And
yeah, I keep a raw. I'm keeping a raw file, a high res, and a reduced one for exhibition now. Yeah,
that's perfect.
yeah.
I think the smart thing these days, especially with these portfolios, is to process in the larger size and then reduce. Whereas before, I know back in the day, we used to reduce and then apply for digital competitions. But listen, there's Mark Stevens here. Mark Stevens, can you make yourself known? You've got a question?
Yes, I'm here.
Want to ask your question of Bronwyn, please?
I'm just getting back to the EFIAP levels. Is that spreadsheet ready now? If we can just proceed and start sort of populating it?
About the application form?
Yes.
Yes, as I showed you that on the website earlier. It's been it's on the web. I've added it to that, both the downloads table, and that was one of the things I pointed out to you as we went down that downloads table, and it's also on that distinctions updates page as well. It's in 2 spots on the APS website.
Right. So it's the final spreadsheet, so we can start on that. I haven't got it in front of me, but hopefully it's the same sort of format, column-wise, to sort of help you with just copying and pasting into the new spreadsheet.
What I want you to do, I don't want anybody filling that out until they've watched that tutorial. The tutorial is great. It is very, very good.
Yes, okay.
Very important that you watch it because there's a whole lot of new features on the form. The columns are essentially the same, except we've no longer got, obviously, the column for prints versus digital.
Right.
Because there is no print requirement for print acceptances now, so that column's gone. You can copy and paste across, but when you copy and paste across, you must paste values, not the whole thing. So you can't use those shortcut keys to paste. You can't go up the top and say edit paste. You need to go to that little box on the top left. In mine it sits on the top left where it's got a little icon that says paste with a little drop down arrow, and you hit the drop down arrow and you've got the option of different types of paste. You want to paste values, because when you paste values, you paste without formatting. You just paste data. And that's really, really important, because if you paste anything other than just the values, you're going to overwrite some of the programming that's in that form. That form is going to do things for you. It will tally your titles for you. It'll tally the number of countries for you. It does all of this automatically, and it will light up a box red if you've put a country or a FIAP number in incorrectly. So it's got a whole lot of nice little features, but if you cut and paste just as a straight paste, you're going to overwrite a lot of that programming and you'll lose those things. You've got to paste values. And by pasting, when you say paste values, so you select what you want to paste from your other form, you copy your cells, and then you go across to the other document and you say, you find that little box up in that top left-hand corner where it says paste, and it's got the drop-down arrow. You click the drop-down arrow and you'll see down on that list, it'll have paste values. And you hit paste values, having put your cursor obviously in the right spot on your form. You hit paste values, and all it does is bring your data across, none of the old formatting. It doesn't overwrite any of the formatting. At which point you'll probably see a few boxes light up because it'll tell you your countries are wrong. In fact, it probably won't, because we've been getting our countries right for a while. But there is a bit of a change of countries, and they've actually got the country list on there. And as I say, the form will tell you if you've done it wrong. The form will also tell you if you do one of the things that I've always have someone does this every year. They write the word FIAP in front of their FIAP number. It's just the FIAP number. It's just the year / and 036 or whatever the number is. And that's got to be in there very in the exact format. Otherwise, this box will light up red on you.
Okay, thank you.
We good to go on to the next page, guys? Yes, I think so. So we're almost there on this slideshow. If someone starts with the free NFIAP title, will you need to pay the distinction fee when applying for the AFIAP the following year? Yes, the AFIAP requires a fee, even if the person previously held NFIAP. The counting acceptances for EFIAP levels, e.g. bronze, cumulative from AFIAP or NFIAP onwards, or does it restart at each level? As you should all be able to answer that question immediately from what we've been going through, the counting is all cumulative. And you can start from either N or from A. And the applicants must transfer the data from page C of their approved FIAP application into their most recently approved FIAP level application, merging the records. They should then add only the new acceptances results. Now, I just don't want you to pay a lot of attention to that at the moment, because I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, about what we're going to do at an Australian level. If photograph A already had 9 acceptances before 2026, does that mean it and you all know about the count and the limit of 10. I'm not going to repeat all that because we've been through it. Is the table showing the requirements for distinctions of category A, NFIAP to P cumulative? You already know the answer to that. It's yes. Are Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland considered one country or 4? They are counted as 4. And this is due to the fact that these operational members, such as Malaysia, Sabah, and Malaysia, Selangor, joined FIAP many years ago at a time when there was no official national operational member existed in their respective countries. Since then, in accordance with the old statutes, they have retained their status as independent operational members. And this has been the case for a long time. With the new rules, can an applicant submit for MFIAP 1 year after achieving EFIAP P? And in case of refusal, how many times can they apply? Yes, you can apply for MFIAP after obtaining EFIAP P. No need to wait for a year. I've already told you that. In case of refusal, they can reapply the following year. And there's no limit on how many attempts they have. Does the open access to portfolio distinctions allow individuals to bypass their national federation by submitting applications directly? And the answer to that, I've already told you. In a country with an operational member, applications for portfolio distinctions have to be approved by the respective FIAP liaison officer. This must happen within 10 days following the closing date. So it's not actually the date of lodgement, it's the closing date. That's good clarity for me, because I might miss that myself. If no action is taken by the LO during these 10 days, the portfolio is automatically sent to FIAP. In the case of a refusal, a written justification must be provided. This will be reviewed by the FIAP board. In countries without an operational member, the applicants just apply directly. So if I was to reject it, I have to justify it. That's fair enough. As I've told you, I will tell you if I see a problem, and particularly if it's one that I know will immediately rule you out from getting it. But the big one is you've got to make sure you're an APS member, because I will knock you back if you're not an APS member. You must be an APS member to be put forward for a distinction. Is a FIAP blue pin relevant when evaluating distinctions applications? The answer to that's no. FIAP blue pin is the award for being the best author in the best photographer in a salon. It's not for a specific photo, and therefore it doesn't count for anything to do with distinctions at all. It's just, but it's a very nice feather in your cap to have if you've got it. So what is the fee charged for portfolio submission? And this is the only spot where you can find this information. So just remember that this is here if you want to know what the price is, bearing in mind that this fee will be captured by FIAP, not by APS, but there will still be an application fee, an administration fee for APS, because our office still has to deal with the certificates and things that come back. We still have to pack them and post them, and there's a lot of office time and packaging materials and all those sorts of things, because we just get them delivered as a batch, and that's going to happen with the portfolios as well. They're going to arrive as a batch, because that was one of the questions I did ask and did get the answer to. So you've got the different levels have different euros associated with them, and the supplementary fee, that is the fee that you pay if your one or more of your sets is rejected and you have another crack at it. It's another 30 euros to have another crack at it. But after a year, you cop the whole fee again. Okay. For distinctions of categories A and B, so category A, salon-based distinctions. Category B is the masters. Will there be a new form, and where can it be downloaded? Yes, there'll be a new form in October 2025 for applications starting in 2026. It can be downloaded from fiap.net and from each profile created on MyFIAP. So it sounds like it's actually available on your MyFIAP profiles as well, but I've told you where you can find it on our website anyhow. Regarding portfolios, will the portfolio diplomas and pins be sent to the organisation that approved the application? And if the National Federation does not approve it, can it be done by an FIAP club? Ignore the FIAP club, that's not relevant to us. You have an operational member, which is APS. And yes, they'll be sent to us, and we will send them on. And the portfolio distinctions. I'm getting my A's and B's muddled. Sorry. If the board can, so the regulations clearly state that the Federation must always provide a justification for any refusal. If the FIAP board considers the justification insufficient, further clarification may be requested directly from the operational member. Only in the exceptional case where the response is not satisfactory, the FIAP board may authorise the applicant to proceed independently. In such cases, the diploma would be sent directly to the individual author.